Hello everybody, my name is Cool Blue and I'm bringing you guys another video in the podcasting portable box. I guess is what I call the title. This has my Zoom LiveTrak L-8 inside of it, and also it has the whole turnkey solution. This is essentially version 2 or V2 of that particular build. So if you did see that build and you thought, hey, maybe you can improve it, maybe you can clean it up, I heard your calls. More specifically, I decided to do a little bit more shopping because I wasn't too happy myself with how it turned out. And I made some improvements. I made some investments to protect my equipment, and I feel like this is all worthwhile. So we'll see. We'll see just how worthwhile it is after we get to utilize it a few times. So here, this is, like I said, the second iteration. This is all in a Pelican box, as you can see here. And this particular Pelican box is I'm not going to flip it over, but it's the Pelican Storm case, the IM2300 to be exact. I did buy the $150 one that came with the foam. I did not buy the one that came with the photography like layer thing or insert. That one overpriced and didn't necessarily do what I needed to do for this particular build. But if it works for you, it works for you. Go for it. Go for it. You know, live your life. I'm not here to judge. I'm mostly here to just spend the money that I want to. So this is a Pelican case. It's pretty tough, crush proof, waterproof, dust proof. Has all the proofs that you could ever want. So I feel pretty trustworthy having this case. And also has a lifetime warranty, so theoretically, if things inside do get damaged because of a defect from the case, I could have Pelican replace them. I don't want to think about what that process looks like, but moving on, we have the latches down here, and these latches are the push button latches. So you push those buttons in, and you're able to open it up. And then opening up the case, we can see a much more kind of organized and well-designed build, thanks to the experiments that I had in the previous Plano 1404 case. I have a general idea of what kind of things I want in the case. So just to give you a tour of the case, we have in front of us, we have the Zoom LiveTrak L8. We have my phone that I use for the podcast, and I'll pull everything out here shortly. We have the two different mic systems that I utilize, which is the Ceramonic Blink 500 mic system, and also the Rode Go 2 mic system. So this is the Blink 2 Pro, so the new Ceramonics, and then also the new Rode Go 2s. We also have some headphones down here. These are some cables that I use to connect everything in. So we'll take these and put these to the side. These are the headphones that I utilize. These are just some generic JLab ones. I could fit some bigger headphones in here if I wanted to, but these work just fine, so I'll stick with those. This is the phone that I mentioned before. Nothing fancy, just a little $90 phone that I got. So relatively cheap. Has no service, but you know, I don't need service for it. Or I could get service in the future, I guess. This is a plug that I use to just kind of connect things, just in case things are tight. To plug in the USB hub that I have here, the powered USB hub, which this powered USB hub has the ability to charge the portable battery that's in here under this Zoom. There's a portable battery in here that the Zoom is not permanently, but continuously connected into. And then it can also charge up the charging case for the Rode Go 2. This is the Z-Genic cases, or Z-Genic case. And this one is the Blink 500 Pro 2's case. It can charge up both of those. Oops, this is backwards. Like so. And easy to do, just kind of literally just plug those in. And then I can plug the hub in, and it charges everything. So that's one of the features I wanted to include in it, because I could, you know, just route some cables, call it a day, and it worked out perfectly fine. So I can very easily charge everything just by plugging in one system. I can also charge the phone too if I plug in a USB Type-C connector from my phone to the hub. That'll work out for me too. All right, so moving the Zoom LiveTrak L8 out of the way, we can see over here we have the mics all in front of us. And as far as these mics, as far as the box in front of us, I did have to do a minor adjustment from the last build. The last build that I had, the way that I was doing everything for the podcast was that I was using the microphones just in their kind of basic capacity. So I was essentially connecting them to the people who were using mics, and this one is currently to the side to show the setup, the official setup I have now. But I was essentially using these kind of connected in front of people on, you know, microphone stands, and people were talking into them. The issue is that these particular mic systems, there's two issues that I ran into. Issue number one is that these particular mic systems are omnidirectional. They have an omnidirectional polar pattern, And because they have an omnidirectional polar pattern, they, at a certain distance, which I think is about maybe this far. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. Which I think the certain distance is about maybe this far away from my mouth over here where my fingers are to the microphone itself, this microphone over here. That's about the distance that everything kind of sounds about the same distance, no matter how you point the mic. So what I mean by that is if you point the microphone this way, at the distance from where my hand is here to where the microphone is, if I point it this way versus pointing it this way, it sounds about the same as far as how much audio is received by the mic. It's not exactly the same, but it's about the same. And that's an issue because these mics are omnidirectional. That means that they collect sound at pretty much a good pitch around the entire circle around them, a complete circle. Kind of demonstrating what I was talking before. And that's an issue when you have a podcast where multiple people are talking. So a person who is sitting not too far away, like less than 2.5 feet away from the other person, that person talks, you can hear it in their mic that they're speaking into, and also the other person's mic who's not currently speaking. So you got a lot of sound bleed. So I ran into that issue with these mics, and because of that issue, I had to look for a better mic solution as far as getting the audio into the actual Zoom LiveTrak L-8. Another issue that I ran into too is that I ran into a problem with the latency between these mic systems. So latency on the Rode Go 2 wireless, the latency on that is really good. I think it's about somewhere between 5 to 7 milliseconds, which is like, you know, crazy fast relative to the different systems. And in comparison, the latency for the Blink 502s, I had to look it up again, but I think it's somewhere in the ballpark of like 10 to 12 milliseconds. So it's noticeably different when you compare them side by side. But when you use one system just all together, it's not noticeable. I think the visual notice, like you can notice it visually when it's about, I think I said 20 to 25 milliseconds difference from you saying something to the visual being there. It's either 20 or 40, one of those numbers, something pretty high. But the main thing is that between these two mic systems, when you compare those two together, the Rode is faster as far as it receiving the sound from the time that you speak into mic 1 and the time that the receiver receives it. That's pretty quickly, or it goes pretty quick. The issue in this situation is that when you have the Ceramonics mixed with the Rode Go Wireless 2, plus you have bleed of voices, it causes a lot of issues. It basically causes an echo effect to where somebody who is sitting over here who's using the Ceramonic mic and me who's using the Rode mic, this person would speak and you would hear them in my mic just enough to be, you know, audible. But you would hear it in my mic before they spoke or before you heard it in their mic. And that caused a lot of issues. It can be fixed in post to a certain degree, but I just really didn't want to deal with the headache of all that. So those two factors, one, the polar pattern being omnidirectional, and two, the latency between the two mics. Those two factors led me to this particular solution, which I'll talk about now, which is basically integrating shotgun mics into everything. So I know I could have gone a different way. Lavalier mics weren't working too well either because those are also omnidirectional. As far as their polar pattern, they collect sound in all directions. So the shotgun mics are really nice, and they were relatively easy to integrate into the system. I do have the Rode shotgun mics. These cost about maybe $60 a piece. I could have gone for the cheaper shotgun mics that did just as good. Those particular shotgun mics, I could have gotten those for $20 a piece. I decided to go for the Rode one just to kind of be consistent with quality. But honestly, I paid for the name instead of the actual product, to be honest. But in this particular case, the shotgun mics, they connect into the actual receivers themselves, and they sit on their own little stands. These windsocks here, which are hiding the actual battery, the power bank, these windsocks are used for the microphones just once they're all set up. And it's pretty nice that everything kind of fit in one box. It does require some assembly. It's not as turnkey. It's not as turnkey as I want it to be, to where I can just kind of pull the whole thing out and just plug it in and go. But it does fit inside the same box. And just as long as I have the other bag, I can have everything in one spot. So now that we spent all that time talking about all those things, let's go ahead and talk about the very last part. Oh, sorry. Continuing the tour of the box. Inside of here, we have a TRRS cable to TRRS cable. Apparently, these are hard to find, and I feel like that's true. I searched on Amazon, and it's a little bit difficult to find those specific cables. And under this little foam piece here, we have just one of the mic handles. I did originally have two in here, but I felt like, I don't really need two anymore since I've shifted how I'm doing my microphone setup. and just having one just in case, just in case something pops up. That's pretty nice. A little foam covers it just to protect it, and also protect my other equipment, and I can put this sound cable right on top. And then I do have space for other stuff if I really want to put it in there, but really, for how this is set up, I think this is about the perfect setup. I do need to reinforce some of this foam because, as you can see, this is pretty loose and it's all being held together by just one connection. But these are things that I will work on later. I'm probably going to plasti dip or use the rubber paint stuff, the rubber adhesive, whatever it's called, to reinforce all this and make sure that my case insert, my foam, actually lasts a good bit of time, because I don't want to replace this anytime soon. So let's put all that back in there, and let's push this to the side. And let's talk about the last bit, which the very last bit that we'll talk about is the actual stands. So I do have to carry a second bag for all this, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it works. This is just a little bag that I found at a thrift store. It's a ResMed bag that held like a pack, which I forget what it stands for, but it's just like for, I don't know, medical things. That's all I remember. But inside this bag, I do have a good amount of space to hold a bunch of things. So in here in this top flap, I do have just some spare headphones just in case somebody needs it, and a tripod stand, just a Manfrotto tripod stand, just in case I need it. I don't think I'll ever really need that, so I might use those for different projects. Up here, I have the handle. I have the microphone handle for the Ceramonic that I already have, and then I have some extra bits and pieces in here. I think I don't feel. Oh yeah, sorry. In here, I have the a few different ends, odd ends, ons and ends. And then going from here, I have the actual stands themselves. This is one of the prototype stands. This is not the final stand. The final stand that I'm actually going to be building for all three of these is actually onto the side. There are three of us in our podcast, so because there's three of us, I do have three stands. Here's just the Joby. Here's the other microphone handle. This is what I'll use to hold the transceivers when the podcasting does start. Just kind of hold it up high so everybody can reach it. Don't really necessarily need it, but it's here because I already paid for it. And then here's the other stand. Now, to go into the details of how the actual shotgun mics are currently planned to be utilized to hopefully solve all the problems of crosstalk, and also solve all the problems of people not having mute buttons for themselves. What we do is we have this kind of stand. This is what the stand looks like from over the top, from the side, just to give you a more reasonable view. This is what it looks like. This is the Joby little 6 articulating arm. It's a little bit hard to see black on black here, but my apologies ahead of time. And it's connected to just a piece that's going to essentially connect it to another articulating arm piece. And this particular piece here allows me to just adjust the mic. And then back here, we don't necessarily need all these things here, but this is a clamp that I have to kind of weigh it down a little bit, so that way it's not too top heavy. Because once you put on the shotgun mic and everything, it kind of gets a little top heavy or forward heavy here on this tip down here, and this down here is kind of weighing it down, getting a little bit more weight, if you will. This particular piece here, this is completely unnecessary, but I like to use it. This is just a cold shoe holder, a double cold shoe holder that you can set up. Completely wasting the fact it's a double cold shoe holder. You could use a single one, but this is the one that I had. So this is the one that I ordered to standardize everything. And it's holding onto the Ceramonic transceiver, transceiver, and it clips in just like that to a cold shoe. And just to get everything set up so we can actually look at it, I don't know where I put the cable. I think I'll fish one out there in a second. So if I put all this here like so, and then from here, there it is. Protect your investment, y'all. Then from here, I plug in the Ceramonic mic, and I plug it in from there to a shotgun mic, and it basically turns this omnidirectional device into a very directional shotgun mic. So it turns to a very directional shotgun mic, and then from there, it's perfectly fine. It works perfectly well. The people who are in the podcast can point it to themselves, make sure it points it nice and close to their faces, and it can reach them. If you need to adjust it, this is one of the cool things about it. This is why I wanted to build it this way. If you want to adjust it, you can just take this little small rig ball joint adapter. I forget the actual name, and you can kind of twist it to loosen it, and you can arrange everything as you need. So no need to kind of mangle everything too much. to get it to cooperate with you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So people can do that, and one of the benefits of this is that the mute button can be placed in a spot that's reasonable for whoever is using it. So that way, if they want to mute themselves to cough or to take a drink of water or to, you know, for whatever reason, they can hit the mute button, mute themselves, move about their life, and then unmute themselves. So that way, I, as the person who's running the soundboard, don't necessarily have to always mute them whenever they need to be muted. They can mute themselves. And it's wireless. So that's a little cool thing. So completely strange contraption for sure. Seems a little unnecessary, seems a little excessive, but you know what? I like it. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. Works out for my particular use case. So yeah, so that's the entirety of what's in the box, as far as what I'm going to be using it for, which would be podcasting, and also kind of what things are in here. Oh, also I forgot to talk about another feature in this. I did modify the top foam, so this top foam does stay in pretty snug, which is pretty nice. It has been snug up there the whole time. It doesn't just fall out, which is amazing. I like that. And I did modify it a little bit to basically make space for a bunch of extra cables, just in case I needed them. So I can keep everything down here clean in the so I can keep everything down here clean, but I can get some extra storage up here. If I wanted to, I could carve more of this out, but I don't want to lose the suction ability, if you will, of this particular top piece. So this is more than enough. It holds a bunch of cables for me, holds some extra 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch connectors and some adapters and all the other stuff I may need. Also, the charging cable for the phone is in here, all that good stuff. And then all stays right up here in the top. And having it carved out is useful because that means that it can kind of fit in there more snugly. Because before it did create quite a bit of bulge, which I wasn't too happy about. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, I carved it backwards, but we're not here to assess that. We're here to just talk about what's in the box, how it works, and give you all a tour. So if you do want to build this yourself, I will try to put the components or an updated list of components that are in this build in the description, so feel free to check that out. So you can find your own pieces, find your own components, and maybe build the exact same thing. Hopefully this gives everybody ideas of how they can build their own. This is a relatively turnkey solution. Ooh, excuse me. This is a relatively turnkey solution that will allow me to kind of put it on the table, connect up the mics, and then go. That's pretty much all I have to do. I don't necessarily have to, you know, remove this, plug in this to the power source, and then plug in this to this. I still got to plug in the microphones and stuff, so it's not as turnkey as I want it to be. It would be very nice. It would be very nice if I can keep all the mics plugged in. As far as the receivers go, just keep them permanently plugged into this, and all I have to do is just turn this on and then go. That'd be great. But can't win them all. There are some compromises that were made here, and these are things that I'm okay with making. These are some good compromises. So yeah, so if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Hopefully this turned out to be a good video overall, and hopefully maybe it'll give you ideas to reinvigorate your own builds. This is the Pelican IM2300 case, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, just check the description, find out more, and hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, I will see you all whenever.